Resignation initiative, we now want to go into the middle. The middle, not lower. So the people of Uganda, irrespective of their political beliefs, take advantage of this wealth creation initiative that has moved His Excellency the President through the country for 1-2 years, preaching the message of nothing but wealth creation at household level. It is not a surprise because in many of our areas where we went to, reasonable members of the opposition were able to join. But for those who, I think, in my humble opinion, do not have a feeling of the poverty that their people are in. Because if we are all working for Uganda, whether in opposition or in NRM, there are certain areas where we must be able to comply and say here.
So Baba NRM nabo bakozeyo ovulu ebbanga lyonna lye babadde mu politics bajja luli nga bambadde ovulo bya yero namba bannaani kukyetaaba
or 100 years, another party takes over power. You will still be preoccupied with the issue of poverty. And when you have an impoverished population, I think it is very difficult to deal. That is why President Museveni and the NRM has come out deliberately with this program of fighting poverty. So being poor in Uganda will be a choice. But at least to join the money economy is an imperative obligation of any Ugandan who can benefit from the wealth creation initiative.
This is Dennis Samson Oboa, the government representative member of Parliament in County Nairobi District. We shall be watching him today as the president also traverses much in the division. Tomorrow on Thursday, because of the NI primaries that will be happening on Thursday, we shall be letting you know what transpires as they head with this video monitor.
The certain dynamics that have always plagued the elections seem to be haunting this 2026 election yet again. Do you believe that the country is ready for 2026 almost? Or we just sleepwalking into them? Well, it is the wish of some people that we are sleepwalking into them. And this is about leadership, it's not about election. Because there are so many things that people don't understand. That the elections might not be right now in this current dispensation, like the means by which there's going to be transfer of power. Right now in this dispensation, I mean as long as Museveni is in power. But there is no guarantee that he's even going to be in power by 2026. There is none whatsoever. Okay? So we have to find ourselves in a place where we are ready. And the reality is that what he wants us to think is to think, and he has done this so expertly. Think 5 years, after 5 years, think the next 5 years, after 5 years, think the next 5 years. But the reality is now these 5 years, you can't see the money spent. Okay? And now we're having scenarios where his son is going to issuing commands. The other day I was reading, I don't know if he is saying that he has stopped street preachers. That Moses has stopped street preachers on the side of the street. And I'm saying, please stop sending us more. You see now that's what they want us to get used to. Like this is CDF. In CDF information. Yes, in the CDF, but the preachers are not soldiers. His authority is strictly limited to soldiers or to people who are in defense forces. Not to street preachers. He does not have any such jurisdiction. And so the problem is you cannot when you start accepting such rubbish. That was, if he's the father, that's a different thing. Because at least he's the president. He has a, you know. But now, how can they say Moses stop as me? Who is instead of this process? His authority starts and ends in the military. What is this? You see, they are trying to make everybody, just parties, be content with getting a few MPs, we shall get iPod money, I don't know how many billions, and so on. And then, but the presidency, you don't think about it. It has been planned by a certain father and son. And you see, there are certain things which are said,
So you want to suggest that the country is conditioned to think about.
Oh, they are. Did you hear what the NRM chief whip, Hamza Nombu, was saying? And I was even shocked to hear that. Okay, I know he's an outsider and he wants to be a part of it and all that. But for him to say what he said, no, there is no problem of leadership in the party. Museveni has a son, and now even his son also has older sons. I'm saying, how can somebody with the right thinking brain think that we are going to be turned into a monarchy? Okay? It's as if he's talking about the Kabaka. As a son, so the kingdom is safe. No, so my point is this. There is a certain, you talk about sleepwalking, and this one I'm addressing. There is a certain methodology that has been used to make Ugandans forget that we are half presidents and we are not going to accept any dynasty. Okay. Well, and that is going to be now elections, there has to be a change.
Around this time, you'll be expecting back and forth interactions between the players, especially the opposition, maybe to come up with a coalition of some sense. But it's lacking. The fragmented opposition is. Do you imagine everyone is shooting in different directions?
No, the thing is, you're talking as if the elections are next month. They are not. You see, we are 7 months away from the election. I think that's it. We are going months. So, there is a lot of time. There is a lot of time. But
are you for coalitions yourself?
If the coalitions are based on principle, yes. But you see, I've been in coalitions before when people had what it is. If the coalitions are based on principle, and with people might trust have the principle and not yes, I am for coalition. But my point is this: because elections have become such big business, because we elect and the next election, and because the biggest employer now is going to be elections, okay? And the biggest employer is going to be politics. Now, how did we come to such a place where that's why there is a lot of excitement? By the time the year turned to 2025, people are saying, because now it's almost as if people have been done not earning, and now it's time for them to start earning somehow, stars and so on, before anyone has been issued. Because there's a lot of excitement around elections. Why? Because it is an income earner. And it's because the biggest income earner, maybe after borders. The next thing is elections. The positions of some place or the other. So, but now, I refuse to buy into that excitement. There is a 7 months, at least, to the election. I am pacing myself properly. I know what I am doing. And I told you before, give me time. When people were excited, trying to get excited, what are we doing? I said, calm down.
What, in your opinion, would be the key benchmarks for a united opposition, if there was to be one?
First of all, that's going to be very tough for me to define here. But usually what happens is that coalitions happen when there has emerged clear leader. And others, if the coalitions are still fighting over who the leader is, then there's not going to be a coalition, if you know what I mean. Now, what happened in Kenya is there were so many political parties which were under both candidates at the past election. But after all candidates had proved that they were the clear leader, so are you joining me or are you joining the other? See, so we have to give ourselves time for there to be a clear leader.
Yeah, but by the look of things, for now, the formidable opposition will be coming from who?
Yes, now.
Will you get on board?
Now the thing is, we have to give ourselves time, as I said. And even the coalitions that time, they didn't come all those months before. Some of those coalitions were forged almost 2 months before the election.
where now people are dividing positions. If I become president, you're going to become chief minister, you're going to become, and so on and so forth. So we still have time to form coalitions, and if by any means that is the leading, person at the time, then it's a position we can talk about, but not now. But because first of all, let me tell you this: coalitions have to come when somebody brings something on the table. Okay. Now, when you look at the coalition, let's say, I'll give still an example of Kenya. The coalition and Kenyan politics is by part, but somebody says that I'm coming with this chunk of people, okay, and I'm adding them to you. In exchange, you are going to give me this number of ministerial positions and so on and so forth. But you see now when somebody is just starting and you say come into a coalition, he doesn't have anything to bring. You're just going to swallow him up, okay? Now, if I have something to bring which is tangible, and I can say, I'm coming to discuss with you, but I have this and this and this behind me, and this is what I'm bringing to the table. Then that time, coalitions become, that's the right time to do coalitions. But now they're not feasible, because there will be so many people who have nothing, so you're just numbers, so I just swallowed up,
Yeah, but the look of things, this election could pass off as any other election. Do you think it plays any significance at all that Ugandans should really be watchful about 2026?
Yes, because there is going to be a change of government in 2026. The year 2026, there is going to be a change of government.
Not on the ballot.
I did not say that on the ballot, but there is going to be a change of. So that's what is so most Ugandans should have in mind. Okay? That everything comes from it. Being sleepwalked into a scenario where there is standby narrator. Like we are really being hoodwinked as a nation. That's the reality. And we are sleepwalking ourselves into a very bad dictatorship. And we shall wake up one day when it has taken root, and God forbid, when it has taken root, and you start fighting again. So I didn't come into opposition to perpetually be in opposition. Okay. Now, this election is going to be very significant because there is going to be a change. There is going to be a change. Now, what kind of change is what actually I am focused on thinking about right now. Are Ugandans really prepared for change? Because that has been our problem. Okay, not our, but by our, I mean, especially this continent. The problem is that people have yearned for change, and then it comes, and they are not ready for it. Okay? I remember, sometimes when I was reading some story in the BBC about 5 or 6 years after the deposing of Mobutu, and the people in Congo were saying that we miss the Mobutu days, because even if he was a dictator, at least he was a nation. But now the Kabila days were big, chaotic, and what, nobody knows who's in charge and what. So, and I said, now these are people who whined and shouted and cried and Mobutu to go. Then we went to were not ready for the change. Now I don't want Uganda to be like that. We have yearned for support. Okay? But I do want us to be in a place where we are prepared to take over the reins of this country when he has gone.
Do you hold on to conviction that a ballot can change government under the current circumstances?
In this current dispensation, I've told you, it might not be possible. In this current dispensation. But I've also told you, there is no guarantee that this dispensation is going to last a long time from now. None whatsoever.
What informs this thinking?
Okay. It's just a but I'm telling you, and I'm very as time goes on, that this dispensation is not going to last for long. So we have to be prepared. Now, ballots will change at some stage.
Yeah, but do you see the NRM has emboldened itself? They have already reinforced the position of the presidency. The President Museveni is their candidate for 2026. While the opposition is still fidgeting around and pressing buttons. So
Do you believe that NRM has an age of value? The NRM, when it has its resources, its machinery, the president was 40 year incumbents, of course they have an age. But that age is as strong as the 70s next story. If it wakes up tomorrow and is not alive, they will disintegrate in a matter of months. I'm telling you that. In a matter of few months, it will totally disintegrate even faster than RB after more electrical. So, they might appear beyond that. You call it a facade. It's a facade. It's an absolute facade. Because it is not a party based on any ideology. There's nothing. There's no basis for NRM apart from propagation of one man. And that's what it has been all along. Now, so it might appear big because that's state resources. State machinery. Resources that they created.
Then our wafunze wawe tubadde.
They are the ones who allow to hold these things. And popularity is another. Popularity. The popularity is also based on power. You see, elections in Africa are all about cities. Popularity, if you bring in the money that NRM was using, I would beat them hands down. That's why they fight so hard to make sure there's no money in opposition politics. Because if there was, they would be beaten hands down. Because there's nothing. They have I can promise anything. I can promise anything. And I'll be in position, of these people that I can do it. But then I can't promise anything because 40 years all they have done is make people poor. Why NRM is focused on the next election? The opposition is in bitter wrangle. I also wanted to tell you this. There is no party called opposition. We're in a opposition parties. We're in a multi-party dispensation. All parties have their leaders. I am a leader of a party. All the others have their leaders. And there is no party called opposition. Okay? And NRM can be opposition tomorrow or any other time. It won't last for long or even in opposition, it will be lasting day. It was not based on anything apart from one man. So my point is, you don't compare NRM with opposition. No, compare NRM with the need. And say need is this and that and that. Now, if I have the advantages, so I don't even have to have all of them. I just need to have 120 what they have, and I will beat them hands down. And for now, I don't even need those resources. I just need non-disruption. There's a reason why, even in the previous election, people go out to campaign and they are meeting and they are turned around and what. And there was a time I was in my city, and it was according to this calendar, it was my day for being in my city. They all see that place, some clumsy, I won't say his name, refused me from entering the town. He said, you're not going to enter this town. I said, but according to this calendar, I'm supposed to be here campaigning. He said, you will not enter. And he deployed policemen and these soldiers who were given to me. There was even an exchange of fire. They hit tear gas and he started policemen and what. And I'm thinking, I just wanted to because I didn't want to see people die. But the point is that what kind of election? Where somebody has all their advantages. What is it? Now you see what even happened in NRM. Somebody goes and says, I want to protest with 74.
Badde nkugamba agenda kuyingako kayinikool yakoze
The issue is that with all this, if we just have to level the ground, and not just level the ground, and now this is my, not just leveling the ground of politics, leveling the ground of the politics. As we take a break now, Joseph, there's a strong opinion out there that you've been backboned by the state. Put up some pseudo opposition of some sort and to give elections a legitimacy. We'll take a break.
njagala muzanyo. Owedda nga nkulaba
omanyi kintandise era akaviiri nga nsaba kujja kunyambako. dasaidisawo yeneesiba shakiyogimamu kati nze buli lunaku nfuuza kati oyinza okugamba leero anti kyenakola kirala okitegeere kyonna kitandika nze nsuuza sobola otunulako ebbali olinamba kantandikemu bwenti nange embale kitegeere kitabisa tobeera ku kimu otunulako newalala nolaba kiki ekitambula ekitegeere tomanyi oyinza osanga ate nga kiri kiridde kusinga oba oba olina idea kiba tekisaakulemu enako tugenkanaegwenyuka naawe nnemu era okola kino oba oyize kino nga tokyusa
in very, very interesting ways. But Mr. Kabuleta, how would you assess the opposition at the moment? Okay, the parties in general. You sound offended when I call you opposition, but what is the state of opposition like?
Unfortunately, it's not as good as it should be. And that's because the opposition have been sold as hopelessness. They don't see the end in sight. They don't see that it is possible to end this dynasty. Now, they don't see what I see. What I see is that this is the end of the cycle. Now, if other people in opposition would see that, they would change. Everything about them would change. But if you've been in opposition 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 elections, and the outcome is the same and the same and the same. What's the best I can get with this? And the sense of resignation in as far as taking power is concerned. However, I don't see that. Maybe because I'm a Johnny Camlet and I have been in
You
that.
still have the vigor.
I have the vigor and I am optimistic. I am absolutely optimistic and I know
otafunako wadde egamba nti okigezeeko
there's a reason why the
wakozesa ki
and start, dividing if they are weak. If you think they are weak as they are, then you don't spend money trying to divide them. So the opposition has their vision.
I thought the opposition satisfaction. There is no one who is fighting.
You're playing with the state. The state is going to employ money because first division in every opposition party. And this was which are fighting. They are not using money. And you've seen it okay. This one, after divided our coronation whatsoever. And I got some forms and water. Very fine. Now, so what's happening is the real results that come from the field are not true. The process gets normal. But it gets normal for political purposes. So after the other the house has gotten 6 so and which is on and program the polling stations and calculated that house how to get people not for purposes. So now they Now, say to suppose this intelligence is
Kiyinza
like
okusiba ng'atemba kutereezatereezaamu olabira ku 15.
because at first he wanted to strengthen himself and continue leadership. Then when he saw that, he realized that he has to weaken the opposition. Now after that, actually, he has himself spends more money dividing on opposition than he spends on NRM. NRM, I think, he kind of left the corruption. I thought the new opposition is now more formidable. The new opposition, if it could foment itself without, well, there's a lot of money flying around. There's a lot of money flying around. And now, I was telling you, in 2006, he started spending more money on opposition than NRM. Because you realize that NRM on its own cannot sustain itself there, cannot sustain him in power. But the opposition has to be divided. Then they started getting divided. Here. Remember how many parties were started around that time? Some of them even acquired them now. So that is the time when the opposition was supposed to be. And from then, he has been spending a lot of money on dividing the opposition. And there's going to be division of opposition.
So it's what happened then is happening now.
Yes.
All parties have emerged.
Yes, but then, these parties are not emerged. These parties have been there. They have just the party, for instance, that I took over was started in 2005.
To weaken the then opposition.
Yes.
And you've now rejuvenated it.
Yes,
I further weaken the opposition.
No, to strengthen myself. That's why I weaken the opposition.
To strengthen yourself.
Yes.
Not the.
Who do you want me to strengthen? You want me to strengthen the Arab property? And the problem with you, you're still thinking that Uganda is a two-party state. NRM and opposition. Maybe NRM will be actually. Party that leads the opposition. Not too long from now. And then, and maybe it will be not too long from now. Have you ever thought about that? I want you to challenge you.
I fathom a moment where creator is in the power. The man who hasn't even posted a single LC1 chairperson.
Yes, how many that? Okay, let's get out of that. But I want you to forget about me, okay? I want you to get that mindset out of you of NRM, one position. I want you to get that out of you. Because they should take NRM to the opposition. And to feel a weak opposition. To not even need which will be wrong. They will decimate. Like this. What is curious and what is created by the opposition? Concentrate on getting equal money. And they replace the position of president. The one man, equal money. And then leave the presidency out. Don't think about it. That's the purpose of it. And as long as they have money, they will play all those politics. But I'll tell you this. I am never going to stop focusing on the presidency. Never. No amount of money or what. Never. It is that we will have, because I got into this thing because we have changed the politics.
Do you see the opposition at a crossroads of whether to fight for survival or scramble for the presidency?
Unfortunately, there is a lot of fighting for survival right now. And the crossroads are there. And there is a lot of fighting for survival. And you get a lot more booty if you project yourself as a going for the presidency. Yet in that sense, in your mind, you don't see yourself as there. I'll tell you this, with a lot of conviction. And I'm not so sure there are so many people that have this conviction. I am not there for survival. I have changed the politics of this country. And you may not think so, but I think you're just wired by faith.
Shada. Eyagunjira ogisaawo.
Hopeless, Museveni looked like it when you're standing for president. Do you remember how hopeless he looked? That same man has ruled us for 40 years now. So what do you think he had at the time? So don't discount what somebody's conviction.
There is some discount. There is sounding practical and realistic under the circumstances. Can carburetor face off with the money bags, with the military, with the mischief that has become a very common phenomenon in our politics?
The money, the mischief, what else did you say?
The security, the military.
Are all based on one man's next breath. That man is very weak and fragile. Can't you better and see that the man is mortal?
But what, no. I don't understand why Ugandans, I mean, the carburetor of all things focus on the person.
Because
He's tying up the issues.
no, his issues can only be solved when I'm here. I'm able to solve issues from out here. You remind me of these people who, I was on radio saying, and I told people that, when I become president, I want to make people rich. When somebody called, of course, people say these stupid things because they have said they don't want to support you. Like, okay, how many have you made rich as it is right now? If you're saying you want to make people rich, how many have you supported rich? I told the new people. If somebody comes and says, I want to go and become a lawyer so that I can represent. So the point is this, or you become a doctor to help people who are suffering. Then you say, how many have you treated so far? Hey, now, the point is this. As it is right now, there is nothing. You see, they just want you to be permanent. That's what you see. There is to be a and once you accept that, then you are born. Because that's the projection they want to give you. And once you swallow that projection, that's the end of you.
Do you agree there is a sense of apathy and resignation? The masses, and this could have a bearing on the 2026.
There is a sense of apathy, there is a sense of resignation, but there is also a sense of hope. By the way, I'll tell you this, the masses seem to have a lot more hope that there's going to be change in this country than the elite.
With the vote.
No, I did say starting with the vote. Some of them even think that there is going to be a vote, but masses seem to have more faith and hope than the elite. I have found elite who are totally resigned, and they are now also propagating. They are repeating propaganda. The other day I was talking to some elite people, and I was in absolute shock because the propaganda things that people say. That somebody is